Well, yes, I think some people would be confused, and that's why I find that when new order members or mitras come to see me, and when they tell the story, or when they write to me about how they came in contact with the Dharma and the FWBO, there are two things that they always mention, or very nearly always mention. That is, that what attracted them was the combination of the clear teaching and the spirit of Sangha. And that there's so much of Buddhism, it has such a long and rich history, that if you study it widely, it's quite easy to become confused. You do need some sort of signposts. And this is what we do try to provide, in the movement, especially at our public centres. And what was the first part of the question?
Well, I think the sort of one of the points is whether there's actually teachings from those figures, even though we might be inspired by their life. Are there specific teachings that we wouldn't want us to study?
Yes, no, I'll get back to the beginning. Yes, when I first thought about this idea of an FWBO refuge tree, I wanted it to represent the richness of Buddhism through the ages in India, in China, Japan, and Tibet. And secondly, of course, I spoke about the possibility of our being inspired by the example of the life and the work of these teachers. And I spoke, or rather I thought in terms more of our being inspired by them to practice the Dharma in our own way, in our own context, helped to some extent at least by the inspiration that the contemplation of their lives gave us. But I wasn't thinking that from that it followed that within the FWBO we wanted to make available all the panoply of teachings and practices that they between them had given. That was my main point here. And I think there are some practices I wouldn't be too happy to see introduced. I'm thinking especially of some of the more tantric practices, perhaps some of the longer and more elaborate ones, which I don't think anybody probably would have the time and perhaps not even the inclination to practice. So this is what I had in mind.